So welcome everyone. My name is Taurus the Legend. Thank you so much for joining us at our episode 3 of the SAP Garage series. Today we're going to be covering the mission Identify Optimization Potential in the User Experience of Your Business App with our guest speaker, Mr. Cody Vettel, Head of Experience Management Program at Sovanta. I just want to do a quick check. Cody, can you see my screen?
I can, absolutely.
You can, okay. So today's mission will be made available, and Cody's going to go through the nuts and bolts of this particular mission. But before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know of some of our, you may be aware of some of them, but there's a few new ones that have been added. So for those of you who want to join us in our ongoing 19-episode series, The Universe of SAP BTP in a Nutshell, you can register yourselves. This is we're already on episode 6 of that. For the companion episodes, How to Leverage SAP Build, this one actually is completed, but from no code to pro code, the right solution for everyone, will be held between February 9th and March the 23rd. We're already on episode 3 on that one. We have the open space of application operations within SAP BTP, followed by a webinar in collaboration with our partner Accenture, Perform Mass Data Changes in SAP SuccessFactors. We've got 2 new additions to the mix. We have a session on BTP and HXM, how HR can harness the power of digital technologies and innovation. And then finally, we have a session, Transform Your Business for Industries with BTP. For those of you who would like to join us at our on-site events, we've got a number of them currently scheduled. So for those in Madrid or in that area, the vicinity of Madrid, you can join us on March the 14th. For those in the Nordics, we have March the 16th and the 21st. We'll have events in Copenhagen and Stockholm. For those in Canada, we have 4 cities: Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Calgary. And finally, we're having another event in Dublin on April the 25th. So if you're interested in joining any of those sessions, these are on-site events where you'll connect with SAP topic experts and partner topic experts, and spend a day with us picking their brains for all the answers to your questions. If you also want to join us at our other forums, we have the SAP Screen Personas, the SAP Fiori Practitioners Forum, the SAP Business Technology Platform Practitioners Forum, and finally, the most recent addition is the SAP Build Practitioners Forum. So if you're interested, I'll put all of these links in the chat as we move forward. And our next Garage series session will be episode 4 on Wednesday, the 5th of April. With that, I'll hand it over to Cody. Cody?
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you guys about the UX score today and how we can talk about optimizing user experience. Because as I think we all know, sometimes SAP gets dinged a little bit too much around user experience, but since the pandemic time, it's definitely something that is in the hearts and minds of customers and employees all the way through, and it's something that we should address at the forefront of improving that experience overall. You're always going to have an experience. Everybody's going to have an experience. It doesn't matter if it's bad, good, sour, salty, great, poor, whatever. You might as well make it a great one, make it a good one, make it solid for the people who are involved in using your platform and your solutions. A little bit of background about Sovanta. So I work here in Heidelberg, so not too far away from the mothership of SAP in Waldorf. I would say we're about a mature startup. We were founded in late 2009, early 2010 by a former board member of SAP, Klaus Heinrich, together with our COO, Michel Kern. We follow a human-centered design approach all the way through. You can see at the bottom, we're also a part of the SAP App House network. Our location is up in Hamburg, Germany. And we also really do our best to combine all the competencies around business design technology, along with our data science team with machine learning, etc. We are a gold partner of SAP, and we're also an end-to-end Qualtrics partner, which is one of the main reasons why we have created the solution that I'm about to show you here shortly. Within that space, we are about 200 people worldwide, and we have a lot of experience around conversational UIs. I alluded to artificial intelligence already, but really the crowning jewel right now that we have in and around user experience is also experience management, because you cannot have a great user experience without having a validation of that user experience using some form of structured way to measure whether you are improving or not over time. And that's where, whenever people talk about measuring user experience, they get dinged a lot because it's always qualitative information. It's not quantitative information, right? It's I like, I wish, I feel. With what we're doing now is we're able to put a stake in the ground, and we're able to measure whether or not we're improving over time and give recommendations there too. So with that, I will exit this and I will show the Discovery Center. Can everybody see the Discovery Center on my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yep, thank you so much. I think for the techies in the garage here today, we should really talk about the architecture here. It's relatively straightforward. We built a SaaS solution on the BTP for the BTP. We have an integration with Qualtrics, where when we want to trigger a feedback for a particular solution, we have that integration, and it works with Qualtrics there too, so that is sent then, or we generate an anonymous link that can be sent then to the users to collect that feedback. We also have a tenant base here, so every customer, everybody who wants to use the UX score, you have your own tenant. Security is always in the hearts and minds of the team here. So each customer receives a tenant, and you receive the viewing of your portfolio, what you're doing with your team, with your company, with your organization there too, and you can't see any other organization as well all the way through. So with the mission, I think the real deal here is we want to look at where the shortcomings are, or also where the good points are within business applications, within solutions, within what your customers and your employees are using on a daily basis. From a product standpoint, from a project standpoint, today money is drying up for roadmap items. Knowing where the pain points are and then hedging your bets and focusing on that in order to improve in an incremental effect matters today. That's becoming the sexy way to improve business applications. It's no longer these overarching huge, hey, we're going to go through and we're going to have this huge digital transformation. What we're seeing right now in the market is really cutting everything up, making sure that each solution from end to end works for all the different users. So let me go into the project board here. And what I'll do is I'll go through sort of the discover and prepare phase here, and then when we get into setup, I'll actually go into the solution itself, and then we'll actually demo the solution, and then we'll come back here and talk through. But basically, what we're doing here is we're walking you through the process of sending out and receiving feedback from your users, whether they're customers or employees, one time from end to end. We do have a freemium version. I'll put that out there right away. We want people to use this solution because we really do believe that it will help you hedge your bets and have a better understanding of what really matters for your users going forward as well. And also, before I get into anything, I don't just like talking to a computer screen. If you do have any questions, please raise your hand. Please let me know, and let's have a dialogue also here too. I think that's also really helpful when I'm not just talking to you guys, but when we're communicating together. So with that, I should probably log in first as I timed out here. That's terrific. And with that, when we go in here, just step for step here, we want to identify, first of all, the application or process that we want to analyze. And usually when you're a product manager or program manager, you usually have some inkling of the pain points that you may have. And what's really important then is that we identify one process. And what I liken this to is when we talk about one process or one solution, we can't talk about success factors from end to end. Success factors is just simply too big. So what we should really look at concentrating on is sort of a time and leave application, or the training and enablement area, or candidate experience is another example. And this is where we want to cut in the solutions that should be the smaller sub areas or individual process of an overall solution that SAP sometimes thinks about here. Then we also want to have a target group. As I alluded to earlier, with S4 transformations, it's crazy today to think that every type of group has the same experience. A team in procurement is not going to have the same experience after an S4 transformation as the HR team or the sales team, et cetera, et cetera. Every single team is going to have a different experience around how they're using each type of solution that is rolled out. And it's really important then that we understand that some solutions are geared towards some groups and others are towards other groups, and that there's going to be good and bad with some areas, but maybe there's some low-hanging fruit where we can help some of these groups out in some of these areas to really bring up their experience into their end-to-end daily process. And then after that, what we do is with the freemium version or with the paid version, we send out an application, or we send out the surveys, the questionnaires to the teams. We already have something pre-calculated. You'll see this in a second, where we give you the guide, and we really develop this in a low-code, no-code, low-touch, low-maintenance type of a way, where this is very easy to do, very easy to comprehend, and very easy to share also with your stakeholders the results, to get the buy-in as well for actually putting the pain points into the roadmap for future development. So with that, we're going to go over to the actual UX score. So when we create a tenant for you, this is what you usually see without any tiles here. Up here, you see currently running UX score reviews right here, and then we have finished UX score reviews. And what this shows us here is that we usually give about a 3-week period for people to provide feedback. And that way, if they're on vacation or if they're ill, they can come back and they can also give feedback. And we always say that around 30 people to provide feedback is a really good basis for understanding, so that we can really hedge our bets and we understand, hey, we have a good solid data source where we can actually plan a roadmap on. We can also go in here, and this is sort of our setup wizard here, where we can create a UX score review. And in here we have a company name. We can sort by industry, because we also wanted to have this, not if you're only doing this for your organization, but let's say you're a partner organization and you want to use this for your customers. You can also do that as well. Benchmarking is also on the roadmap. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but as the data flows in from different organizations in the different industries, we'll be able to benchmark as well. So let's say, hey, we're in the professional service area, and we have 100 to 1,000 employees. The application is going to be test number 3 all the way through. The due date is automatically at a default 3 weeks from now. But you can set it whatever you want. So let's say, hey, that's too long. We're gonna actually set it by the end of next week here, because we're also on a timeline. Line of business, let's say HR. We want to have feedback on our payroll and compensation, and we want that also from our employees and managers. So we already are defining the roles that we have all the way through here. And then the systems, of course, let's say we have some BTP components, we have some success factors components. The beauty of being a partner is that we can also write in other platforms in here that are commonly used platforms, so that we understand as well, or we understand as well that a lot of customers, they have a hybrid modus of their IT infrastructure. So we really tried to add in some of the more commonly known platforms in here as well. So then going through here, we have some Fury, we have some UI5. And then here you automatically see the intro text that is provided here, telling your customers or your employees, saying, hey, exactly what this is designed for. It is anonymous. It's 120% anonymous. We also made sure that was forward. And then if you want to add a personal note, let's say you want to acknowledge that there is a key issue, you want to open up for effective communication, not effective communication, effective communication. You want to develop that empathy. And so we say here, we understand there have been some issues with the solution. Please take time to feedback. Too many E's, huh? Back. And then we can also do this in German as well. And then when we click confirm, we reach out then to Qualtrics. Qualtrics is then generating the survey for us already that is pre-populating everything. And then we will receive the anonymous link. And here we go. And what's really great is that here we're going to copy the link. It says right here that the URL has been copied. And from here then, what's really great is that you copy and paste it into an email from yourself. We're a huge proponent of not inventing a new communication wheel. When the email comes from you or comes from a key stakeholder, you can provide that link to have your CIO send it out, or somebody else send it out as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be you, but that also goes to developing empathy, letting your customers and your employees know that this really matters to you. And when you copy and paste that into the email, that also means that our UX score is not harboring any of your PII. Data protection and privacy, again, is at its paramount. Nothing is stored within the confines of what we're doing here. And then you see right here that the test 3 area has automatically been generated with the due date of next week as well. So with that, we also want to see what kind of results are there. So let's go in here and let's take a look at the review 1, because that wasn't that good. So when you receive the results, it's going to come in here with a radar chart. And with the feedback here, you see within the radar chart, the joy of use and ease of use. And that's what's usually thought of when you think of usability and design. A lot of people, when they think of user experience, they think about usability and design as user experience. What a lot of people miss is the range of use and utility of use. The technical aspects of user experience matter. They matter more often than not than the joy of use and ease of use. Because if I have to download and upload files to complete an end-to-end process, I still have a terrible user experience. If you do a S4 transformation and your CFO comes back to you and says, why am I still using the same old spreadsheet? There is a disconnect with expectations there, right? User experience really matters with this all the way through. So when you receive the results here, you also have the area here where you can truly see what is measured. So aesthetics is one area. What does it mean by aesthetics? is the software aesthetically pleasing to the users? And you can see from the Likert scale 1 to 5 that, hey, we have some problems here. Also, if you have somebody who really wants to dive into the pain points, we can highlight that for you, and we have exactly what that means here in the definitions with the points here. But also on the other side, we don't want to always harbor on the negative. I know I get stuck on that rabbit hole every now and then as well, where you just really want to harp on the negatives. But what's going well in the application too? Here's where we also want to show what we can do moving forward, or show how we can glean best practices, right? To maybe help the other areas as well. Where are we doing well, and what are we doing well in that we can help clean those best practices to the other side. So with that, we can also then see how we're improving over time. So if we go back to the overall score, we can actually see over time. Let's say we're working in sprints on a solution, and we can track how well we're doing by the overall radar chart here. But then we also have a great trend analysis. And this is also really important when we want to look at the overall score, or if we want to do a breakdown of the different areas, we can actually see this over time. And as we're talking about user experience, our team really wanted to get into this, and you can see that we can also have a breakdown structure of what we're doing here. And you can see from the joy of use, all the different subcategories here. We can add all of it in, we can add some of it in. We can also see then trend data of what's going on. So if I see a green line sort of digressing here, I see that we're actually negative in some areas, and we want to know why. So even though we're increasing overall, there may be some areas like intuitive handling here where we see we're going down, and we want to know why that is, and we can look further into that with our trend data here as well. Now, data is only as good as how we use it. I talk to so many people who would talk about a Bauchgefühl, as they say in German, a gut feeling when they want to hedge their bets and make decisions and roadmap decisions for their applications without actually asking what's the most relevant. What we have here, though, is based on the results, we actually have recommendations for you going through. So let's say that we have a pain point with, one second, let's get some more in here. Okay. Let's go through here quickly. With intuitive handling. Intuitive handling looks like it's a little low. So we want to look with intuitive handling, and we wrote this up so that you have a guide on how to improve your intuitive handling, because it's only at 3.7. And we have then 4 different areas that will actually provide your team in how to improve that intuitive handling that was rated rather low. Performance issues. We have also 3 different areas here within the performance area that you can see. So we're not just giving you the data, we're also giving you kind of the elbow nudge on how you can also work to improve over time with low-hanging fruit, with best practices that our organization sees, with what we're doing with our customers as well. And then last but not least, there is one area or one open text question at the end. So even though this is quantified information for context, we do have one area or one section that you can have your employees or customers provide you open text questions or open text answers. And right now we have one answer in here saying that the software can really use an upgrade as 50% of the features are no longer relevant. How often does that happen? When we shift, when needs of the user shift, and the roadmap isn't relevant anymore to those changing needs moving forward. So very relevant feedback there. With that, I can actually take a break here a second, a quick pause. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this point.
So if you guys have any questions for Cody, please do type your questions in the chat. or just raise your hand in the Zoom tool, and I'll call upon you to unmute your line and ask your questions by audio. If there's any questions. No questions. Okay.
Okay. So with that, we'll go back to the dashboard. We can see what we're, I'm sorry, let's go into the settings here, because I think that that's also a rather large value add where you can actually share the review. So you can actually export this into a PDF document now. You can preview, we can edit the reviews, which is also a great functionality. Let's say that you want to edit the due date or anything like that. You want to edit and save any changes with an ongoing project. And then also, let's say that you also want to have a change log going through in how you are improving going forward. We can also add that within the changes down here as well, which for a lot of people, excuse me, bubble water, sorry. We can also have a change log here too, which is really nice to understand when something may decrease in a trend, that you know that you did not concentrate on that feature in the last functionality, but there was negative feedback, and maybe it just doubled down now that people didn't see that it was addressed in the last sprint or something like that. So moving back to the Discovery Center, let's go back here. With that, as I said earlier, sorry, let me talk about this for a second. It's basically exactly, we set it up exactly in the flow that you would need it to complete the mission all the way through for a trial basis. How you would do that is you would start your mission. An email goes directly to me, goes to directly to Andreas. We'll set up a tenant for you, and you can go through exactly with following the mission here. We built it to be intuitive and relatively straightforward, but we're always here to help you all the way through this process. So within the setup phase, we have this all the way through, where a lot of the frequently asked questions are also provided in here with answers. And it's designed to be that low, no touch way to gather that feedback from your end users. So with the questionnaire, I think that's also something that's really a commonly asked question. It has 36 questions into the 4 categories that I've already shown you: range of use, utility of use, ease of use, and joy of use. With the 12 subcategories as well. They are 5-point Likert scales, and they do incorporate a lot of the other, a lot of the traditional minded user experience quantified gauges. But what we have done is we really added the technical aspects in here to make sure that everything is truly quantified. We've had wives, spouses, everybody doing the score, and it does not take over 7 minutes. It normally takes 4 to 5 minutes. We say we say anywhere from 5 to 10, depending if somebody is trying to multitask or something like that. So with that, the questionnaire is then sent out, and usually about 7 days. We want to wait until people are able to provide you feedback. You're able to go in and see that radar chart and really look into the insights of what people have provided you. And also, it's a great way to share that with the team that's working on the application, or even to your key stakeholders. It's also a great way for you to sort of drive for more funding, because it often adds validation into, hey, we know these issues are here, but we don't know where to nail it down, or we don't know how to, gather the insights other than the I like, I wish, I feel method. But this is, like I said, a quantified way for you to actually provide that feedback to your leadership as well. With that, the basis all the way through is around we don't just have one dimension of user experience. I think that it's really important for everybody to understand that when we talk about user experience, that the technical aspects as well as the usability and design are there too, and pretty essential, especially nowadays, given post-pandemic, still a lot of work at home issues are there, etc. We do have one question here from Michael. Where are the data stored in the EU? Yes, in Frankfurt is where the Qualtrics tenant is set up. So it's Frankfurt, and Dublin is the tertiary backup. And then, no, the customers do not have access to the results. That's something that is more for you to provide them as being a consultant. So your customers, when they provide you the feedback, there's no way for them to see the results. They only receive the anonymous link for the survey. And that's how it's built, so that the person who's sending, or the organization sending out the survey, sending out the prompt for feedback, that they maintain that data. Okay, not the customer I meant, the software company. Yes, so you see all the data, right? So whoever has access to the tenant, whoever you tell me should have permission to see the data within your organization. We can grant them access to the data there too. Angel Cruz, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. All those recommendations or suggestions generated by the analysis of each app to improve each aspect, on what kind of guideline are they based? Really good question. I had our whole user research team coming together for months on end to actually say, if we receive bad feedback in this quadrant, what does that mean, right? How do we improve that? The really cool thing is we had, being a part of the SAP App House network, we have validation also from the App House colleagues and from other App House members who are also using this, so that we have validated the questions, and we have validated that the feedback that is provided will actually improve that quadrant, and probably will help out in other quadrants as well. So I hope that answers your question there. Yeah. And then, yeah, getting into the recommendations here. Also, it's really important then exactly what I said. What do the results mean, right? Based on the technology and the services that are provided. And also, I think that the change map, you're able actually then to, you're able to also put a stake in the ground and measure what type of roadmap items are going to actually move and improve. So if you are not just a program manager or a solution manager, if you are a CDO, or if you're leading in the digital space of your organization, and you don't simply want to know in one application, but you want to know if that will have an effect in other applications. By doing it once, you're also going to have a predetermined notion if it will help you in other applications, or if you should look at another recommendation to help with push that user experience to a better position. Okay, and benchmarking, as I said, it's on our roadmap, but we take our everything that we're doing here pretty seriously. We don't want to just give benchmarking for benchmarking. As the data comes together from our customers who are using the app, we will release the benchmarking within specific industries for specific solutions. That's why we have the setup wizard also to help aggregate that, because that's an important factor for our customers. And as more people are able to use the app, we're going to be able to provide more benchmarking as that time comes. But it's going to be validated, and we don't want to just make up numbers. We want you to have meaning behind the benchmarks. Okay, with that, I would be more that we also have our uxscore.sovanta.com, which is the main informational site if you want more information. Also, we have the Discovery Center here, and as I said, if you would love to sign up for a freemium version, by all means, we would love to have you try it out. With that, I'll open back up for more questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Cody. So if you guys have questions for Cody, please do type your questions in the chat, or just raise your hand and I'll call upon you to unmute your line. Maybe Cody, a question from my side. Are there any links or documents that people can get started quickly that you can share? I know it'll be in your presentation, but maybe if you can share it in the chat with people.
Absolutely.
Point them in
So
the direction.
uxscore.sovanta.com, that's our product page. And we walk through the type of personas, the type of ways that you can use the UX score. A great question came up in the earlier call with the APJ region, talking about what happens if I'm going to start a project. Can we also use this to understand the expectations of our users? Absolutely. We just have to gear it a different way. And I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody who has that type of situation. A lot of questions come up about change management in this space. Change management for me is done in two different ways. You can do a fit gap analysis, which the UX score really isn't geared towards, because you really want to understand what was intended to happen, what really happened, and then understand what went wrong in there. Or with change management, hey, where do we go from here? With the where do we go from here story, the UX score is rather geared rather well for. But when we want to do a fit gap analysis, that part really requires a little bit more hands-on.
Thanks for that, Cody. So if you guys have any questions for Cody, please do take this opportunity. We've got almost 20 minutes. If you guys have any additional questions for Cody, please do type your questions in the chat or just unmute your line and ask your question. No questions. Okay. Excellent. Thank you again, Cody, for an amazing session. Oh, there's one question. Bruno, if you want to unmute your line.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Toros. So my question is regarding the deployment of the application itself. So how the deployment works here to be able to have the application show it to the end user? Yep.
Really good question. So as soon as you register, it's software as a service. And so what we do is we will basically open up a tenant for you. So as soon as you want to use it, as soon as you say, hey, we have somebody that we want to use this with, we will open up a tenant to you. We'll provide you with that link, and then you're able to use it for the freemium version.
Okay, perfect. And is it possible to change a source code from there? Do we have access to source code?
No, you don't have access to the source code. That is kind of our IP. We do have a trademark, and it's registered with us on what we're doing here. So source code would be we probably wouldn't do anything like that unless it's with a collaboration with a customer who wants to incorporate this into their technical infrastructure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
But with that we would have to. That's a completely different conversation.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, thanks for that. I see there's another question from Layla. If the data owner has their own instance of Qualtrics, what are the options for data storage, retention, or ownership?
Yep, very good question. So when we designed the UX score, we designed it to be all-encompassing so that the customers don't have to do anything, right? It's a very quick and easy way for them to receive their feedback all the way through here. Now, we do have customers who say, hey, listen, we have our own Qualtrics system. We want to own our own data. And what we have done is we have set up the UX score for them to call their own Qualtrics tenant. And we also have an on-prem version where we actually are able to deploy the UX score into their Qualtrics instance so that they can use it as well. So Leila, absolutely, we have different versions there. Obviously, it's not going to be the freemium version in that perspective, but we have multiple customers doing many options here on getting that information back to their Qualtrics instance, or even in some instances they have it piped over to SAC.
Okay, thanks for the question, Leila. Thanks, Cody, for the answer. If you guys have any additional questions, we still have a bit of time. Okay, I don't see any questions. Nobody's raised their hands. So thank you so much, Cody, for another amazing session. Hopefully Cody's been able to answer your questions. Oh, something just come in from Leila. Do you staff any experience with working with cybersecurity or privacy officers and assessments?
Absolutely. So we're ISO 27001 compliant all the way through, and we have privacy officers and we have our security team who is more than able to answer any of your questions. We actually also have a pre-published security paper around the UX score as well. So we did our homework with that perspective, especially being over here in Europe, in Germany. The solution was definitely built with security in mind.
Okay, thanks for that. So hopefully Cody's been able to answer your questions, and maybe after this session, maybe raised a few new ones. I've put all of our contact information, especially Cody's email address, in the chat, so please take note of that. Also, I've put in the chat all of the sessions that are, if you'd like to join us and register too, please feel free. The recording for today's session will be made available on YouTube, so please do check that out. I will send an email very shortly with that link. The recordings for the last 2 episodes are already on YouTube, so if you go to YouTube and search Garage Series 2023, you'll be able to get access to the 2 recordings that we had previously. So thank you again, Cody. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I hope to see you and connect with you again next month. Have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're located. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everybody.